One of my fondest memories of Valéria was on my first trip to Brazil in 1990 with my friend Dave Lancaster. And one evening while we were there, Dave and I and Valéria visited a friend of hers at her penthouse apartment in Rio. And from her apartment there was an incredible view of the Christ in one direction and a view of a spectacular view of the bay in another direction. And that evening was, for lack of a better word, enchanting. The light was incredible, and we just relaxed on the porch outside of this apartment for hours and chatted and really enjoyed each other. And I think it was that night that I really realized that I had fallen in love with this girl. And I think at that point I was happier than I'd ever been in my entire life. So we were on we were outside chatting, and I remember one episode where the girls, we videotaped this, a lot of this evening, and there was one part of the tape where the girls were talking to the camera, telling something in Portuguese I didn't understand at the time, but I'm fortunate to have kept that video all these years, and I can look back now and I do understand what they said. And indeed, Portuguese is a beautiful language, and Rio indeed is a beautiful city, and Brazil is a wonderful place. Before I met Valéria, there was not much likelihood I ever would have, well, not much likelihood I would have done international travel. I don't think I'd ever really consider it, but after I met Valéria, that was always on the agenda. Valéria wanted to travel, and she wanted to travel a lot. So I made my first trip to Brazil in 1990, and I pretty much went there about every 2 years after that. The first few times were a challenge for me because of the language, but she was patient enough to work with me and my exceedingly slow learning style. And eventually I think I learned enough to be able to function. I learned about her culture, and I appreciate what Brazilians are about now. They're the warmest people that a person could ever meet. Oh, I don't think she had any favorite quotes or sayings, but she had funny things that we made fun of. And early on, she would frequently confuse the words kitchen and chicken. So on occasion, she might be cooking kitchen and the chicken. And my daughter never let her off the hook. She teased Valéria relentlessly. Just a few years ago, Valéria dragged me kicking and screaming into helping her develop the choreography for the tango program for the BPA dance event. This was in, I think, 2013-14. And I'm not a dancer. I've never danced, and she said at first, I just need you to be the man so I can develop the choreography, and just for the opening number, I don't need anything else. And so I reluctantly agreed to do that, and it wasn't long before she said, and I need some help developing the choreography for the individual teams. And I reluctantly agreed and helped her, and we were in the house doing this. She was basically doing everything and showing me what I needed to do, but I guess I picked it up fairly quickly, and it wasn't long before she was saying, "Sweetie, you need to come in and help me teach the guys their steps for these dances." And so by the end of that season, I had learned 4 of the choreographies and coached a lot of the guys and even some of the gals in these numbers. And I have to admit that was, in retrospect, that was one of the most pleasurable things that I had ever done with Valéria. And I look back now over our entire relationship together. She was always trying to get me to dance with her, and I can't dance. I always thought I couldn't dance, and you know, I guess that's one of my greatest regrets, is that I didn't start dancing with her sooner. She's a beautiful dancer and a beautiful person, and gosh, I missed out on a lot of fun times. When she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in August of 2015, I was absolutely distraught. And I remember we left the doctor's office and I was nearly hysterical. And she was calm and peaceful, and I just couldn't stop crying. And she put her hand on my knee as I'm driving home, and she said, "Honey, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. You know, I've lived a really good life, and I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets." Virtually our whole relationship, Valéria had said that someday we want to move to Brazil together and live there for some time, and I always thought, well, yeah, sure, But it was probably, I think, somewhere around 2010 that I think she told Juliana that she didn't have that dream anymore of necessarily living in Brazil, and that this was her home. This is where she lives. This is where she made her life. And I think it was about that point that she became more satisfied with her life. And she seemed more serene and more calm. If there's a word that describes her, it's certainly passionate. And if there's one thing that Valéria was passionate about, it was our children. And when Camila was born, Valéria became a changed person. I saw a side of her that I had never seen before. She was absolutely crazy about this little girl. And then a few years later, when Lucas came along, she was crazy again about another little person in our lives. And in the early years, Valéria spent a lot of time doting over the kids and shooting video and taking pictures. And I'm very fortunate that she was so crazy about that, because I have such a rich collection of video and images, and certainly it fills in those gaps of my memories. She accomplished a lot of things in her lifetime, but I don't think there's anything that she's more proud of than Camila and Lucas. They were her shining stars of her life. And I couldn't agree more. They indeed are shining stars in our lives. One of many, many things that I really appreciate about Valéria is that she changed me in incrediable ways. I think before I met her, I was relatively shy. Not that I'm not shy still, but she showed me really what it's like to be outgoing and to be giving and to be warm and loving. She showed me what a real hug is about and what a passionate kiss is about.
Nada do que foi será de novo do jeito que já foi um dia.